With the strike in Long Beach now in its second week, Host is filing for bankruptcy, and American Airlines dealing with a possible labor issue with people who take the phone calls. There's starting to seem like a movement again of organized labor. And Henry, we've heard a lot about how the ranks of labor unions have been falling for 30 plus years. Labor unions are dead. Nobody wants to join a union anymore. But all of a sudden, just anecdotally speaking, at least it seems like there's a movement afoot where people are saying, you know what? We're going to push back against capital, the people who own capital, who've been doing really, really well the last 30 years.
And you know what? There should be a pushback. And here's why. Right now, in our economy, we have our corporations, big corporations, with the highest profit margins in history. There's this storyline out there that business is suffering. It's so terrible.
Too much regulation.
It's a bunch of crap.
Yep.
Revenue is growing slowly because the economy is growing slowly. Profit margins, highest ever. Meanwhile, wages as a percent of the economy, lowest ever. So what's happening? The owners of the companies are keeping a bigger share of the loot than ever before. You can understand why workers are upset about that. We are all in this together. I know there was this idea 6 months back or so, hey, I built that, I own it, it's all about the owner. The economy is an ecosystem. The money flows through it. Companies right now are choosing not to share their vast wealth with their employees, and the problem for everybody is that the employees spend money, it creates revenue for other companies, it gets money flowing through the economy. If our companies actually took that money, the extra profit, and gave it to employees in the form of wages, not charity,
they're not going to give it out to them.
Else, exactly, the economy would be much healthier, would be growing much more quickly. And unions, as much as there are many problems with them, and we've got to go through them, have encouraged that in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, over the course of history, you have these pendulum swings where there's too much power in the hands of the owners of capital and too much power in the hands of labor. You look what happened to the U.S. auto industry in the 1960s and 70s. You could certainly make a case that the unions got too powerful and they helped derail what was a great American industry. But I would say that over the last 30 years, the pendulum has swung too far back in the other direction with power in the hands of the owners of capital and the average worker. I mean, you said it. The wages as a percentage of GDP are now at their lowest level. I know you've written about this and posted that chart many times. You look at that chart, and it's hard to argue. You can't argue against it. I mean, it's just the facts are the facts.
It's right, and it tells you a lot about this country, that when you mention the word fair or feel good, you get laughed at. Oh, you're bleeding heart liberal.
You're a commie, even worse.
Fairness. Yes. Tell me about it. It's all about making as much as you can for yourself. You know, you don't have to pay your employees a dime more than you have to pay them to keep them. That's what free market capitalism all about. You know what, they want to get rich, they can go start their own company. That's like a sort of approved view in this country right now. You know, that fairness, you talk about fairness and you're somehow soft and pathetic.
Of course.
So fine, so let's not talk about fairness. Let's talk about health of the economy. Again, if you share more with your employees for your own self-interest, they're going to be more loyal. You're going to have less retention issue, fewer training costs. There are lots of studies that point to the fact that employees who are really into the company will help you grow sales. There's a lot of evidence toward that. So look at it as investing.
Yeah, look at the difference between Costco and Walmart. Costco, very profitable company, pays its workers very well, has much higher benefits than the average, very low turnover ratio. Walmart right now, they're dealing with a brewing labor problem. They won't let them unionize, but they've had some walkouts and strikes, and just the perception of a lot of consumers that Walmart doesn't treat its employees very well, so maybe I'd rather go shop at Costco. That's my personal feeling, and I'd just rather shop at Costco anyway. But Costco, it's not like it's hurt them as a company in terms of their profitability by treating their workers well.
No.
So this speaks to your point.
And
exactly.
I love Walmart. It's a great company, but it's one of the richest companies in the world. Full-time employees, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them, are below the poverty line. These are people who are giving their life to Walmart. Walmart is massively rich. $17 billion in operating income, something like that. And most of its employees are below the poverty line. There's a problem with that. There are many problems with unions that we haven't gotten into, starting with the fact that they create this us versus them culture within a company.
Yes, they do.
They make companies less nimble. It's a sense of entitlement. We deserve this, you give us this, as opposed to everybody rowing together. Big problem.
So people get paid to not show up to work, all kinds of crazy things.
All employees are treated equally, no matter whether you're good or bad or mediocre or what have you. Huge problems with unions. I think the way to solve it is to persuade companies to voluntarily share the wealth. But again, the pendulum has swung so far in this country right now that you say that, you watch. we are going to get shelled.
We are going to get
The
shelled.
soft communism, everything else. It's not communism. It is good business.
Right, and I would ask those people who are going to shell us, or they're maybe already doing it, to ask themselves, do we really live in a free market capitalist society? Because that's the idea. It's like, we don't. I mean, these corporations get a lot of help from the government too. They're not out there, fighting on a level playing field against the competition, and so they have to pay their employees so little.
And not just the government, society. We live in a society with laws, fairness, incredibly rich society. Those are your customers, they're rich. Again, you can go ahead and tell yourself, you built that. It was just you. And you played a big role in it. There's no question.
Of course.
It's not diminishing your personal achievement. But the reason your company is successful is in large part the fact that you're operating in the richest, fairest country in the world.